make sure you know the top three steps of how to execute your technique. But really, there's small nuances within each steps that I want you to think about of how to visualize, how you're going to talk about it, what you'll show on screen, to help really illustrate that point.
This is Klara. I've been working with her for some time now, and we're talking about skill to sell. Create a profitable video tutorial of your signature technique. Klara, can you say a few things about yourself? Where are you? Tell us about what you do and why. Well, tell everybody why I'm excited about having you here.
Hello, Heather, and hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on. And my name is Klara Cu, and I am the owner of a creative agency called Conquer the Digital Empire. I run it with my husband slash business partner, and together we really are geared towards helping service providers and creatives turn that knowledge and expertise that they've had in their head for a very long time into a digital product. Digital products come in different shapes and forms. It could be downloads, could be courses, could be like other trainings and programs. And really, we want to help facilitate helping people pull that expertise out of them and package it in a way that they can sell it and have another potentially passive stream of income to help grow their business and ultimately help them get more time and freedom to do what they love.
Love it. I love it. And I'll just say the reason why I love working with you is because I've watched you for a long time. Wasn't sure how I fit in. Like I was looking at your marketing and I was looking at your website and I'm like, not quite sure. And then the first time I took that dip, and it was probably, I waited too long, I'll say that. I took one of your classes and you helped me package an idea that I had in less than a week. I sold it over a weekend and it was the best-selling class that I had had in years, in just a few weeks. I was just like, how did this happen? And I think it has a lot to do with you were incredibly knowledgeable and you held my hand along the way. And more than just holding my hand, because I am a part of your membership, right? But in that one class, you kind of understand before I even get into it what my needs are, and you help guide the process through the tools that you provide in ways that I've never had any type of coach or marketing person show me. So I just want to put that out there. So that's like my kudos to you. But we've been talking about people that take my classes and the things I'm interested in and where your expertise is and kind of mashing that up. And over this last year, we've been sharing some very simple skill building things in some of the classes that I teach. And so you and I got together and said, let's create a way that people can take their go-to thing, their signature technique, and just make a simple video. Like this is just like, this could be your first video. Or if you've been doing online classes for a little while, but you haven't really made a standalone video, it could be for that. What are some other ways that this video tutorial could be used?
I love the idea that we're starting with like this video, like this one video tutorial, because really think of it as like the launching pad for other types of digital products or trainings that you can ultimately share with your audience. So a how-to tutorial, the single video tutorial, could think of it as maybe an entry point to new students or new customers who are getting introduced to like your technique and what you have to offer. And when I say Launchpad, it's really because sometimes all it takes is like one video, or like in the case of Heather, she took one class and that introduced her to like other offers or other maybe more advanced trainings that I had in the background. So I like to think of this how tutorial as like the gateway to the journey that you're going to take people on based on your technique or the framework that you've had. And then other ways you could end up using the how-to tutorial. A lot of times, if you have, let's say, speaking aspirations, like you want to speak at a summit or teach some kind of workshop in a larger group setting, you could have this how-to tutorial sort of in your back pocket to say, hey, one, here's a sample of my teaching style so that you can get perhaps more speaking creative gigs. And also sometimes, I'll talk about summits for a second because that's part of my background. A lot of times summits are asking like, oh, is there sort of a gift training you can give attendees to grow your email list as one way to, get more leads into your world. Again, how to put your tool in your back pocket. Here's something of value that you already have prepared versus you scrambling to figure out like what can I come up with at the last minute to, show that I can give value. And that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg of what you could do with just this one video.
I love it. Now, I have a bunch of questions about how do we get there. But first, I want to tell people that what you and I have been working on over the last couple of weeks is a video tutorial outline. And you provided it for me. This is how you break down how to create a script and how and to be thinking about the things you need to video and the props you need and how to prepare that whole piece. And when I went through it, I went, I wish I would have had this 7 years ago when I started making video tutorials, right? And I'm already going to up my game just by following your outline. So that is one of that's like a core piece, a tool that you'll get in this workshop that you're offering, right? Is there anything you want to say about that outline before I start asking you some more questions about how do we know if we have a how-to tutorial video in us?
Yeah, so I actually had a great time making the outline because I'm very much like a systems process person. Like if I can break things down into steps, that's like my jam, right? I'm very much a details person. So the more details and context I found that I can give someone, sort of like the hand holding that you mentioned before, I feel like sometimes when people get stuck, it's because maybe there wasn't enough details to tell them like what to look for or what to think about ahead of time. Because when you come across something that you weren't prepared or expecting when you're trying, when you're in flow of the process, it just stops you in your tracks, right? You have to sort of go back or you have to go ask that person. So as much sort of leverage I can give ahead of time and guidance on like the path they're going down, I feel that's what helps people get results even faster. And so really breaking down, I don't want to just say high level, make sure you know the top three steps of how to execute your technique, but really there's small nuances within each steps that I want you to think about of how to visualize, how you're going to talk about it, what you'll show on screen, to help really illustrate that point. And yeah, I'm proud of the outline and I kind of can't wait to see all the different ways people fill that outline in with their own content.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that this is like an outline where it's just question, question, question. She goes into this is the high level why you need to do this section of your script. Then, and I won't give away the secret sauce here, but she does break down all the things you need to do to set up this whole scene well for yourself. And then she ends it with common mistakes to avoid. So you don't have to go through the whole process and then go, oh, you know what I should have done? She already knows what's going to happen as you record that part and why you need it, right? So I loved that. That was so great. And as I was going through this, I was thinking about a lot of people that have taken my classes and some of my colleagues that could benefit from this and wondering what kind of questions would they have. And first, I was thinking, well, some of them may have many different how-to tutorials in them. How does someone figure out which one to choose? Like how if they've got so many, how do they know?
I'm going to go back to something I said in the beginning of ways you can use your how-to tutorial. I use the term like, oh, it's a gateway to other offers. And I offer is loosely basically if you have another class in you, if you have a service you provide, a consulting thing, whatever it is, that's what I mean by offer. For me, what helps you determine, like, if you, let's say, have a few ideas floating around, which one do you feel like most naturally can lead to the next thing that you want to offer that customer? So let's say you already have a longer form class where you go even deeper into like your technique or your style. Choose the how-to tutorial that will let you naturally segue and say, hey, if you like that I taught you XYZ, I actually go into it even more in my, my full 2 to 3 hour workshop where I'll show you even more skills that are related or get even more advanced with that skill. So to me, having that funnel lead to the next thing is really key because sometimes if you're just thinking of how-to tutorials just sort of as one-offs, it's not that that's bad, but it's, you could just optimize your time and effort by having it naturally lead to something else.
I love this. I love this. I already have two ideas. Can I share them?
Yes, I love
Okay.
to hear
So
it.
for the visual practitioners in the room, or even the calligraphers that are wondering, how do I use a brush marker, right? Whether it's like this particular marker that we have, or the big one that's got it's the largest brush marker in the world. I can do a really quick, I mean, probably less than 10-minute video on the how to use and master this brush without even knowing a lettering style. Like, what are some basic techniques you need to know And then for me, I can then show them I know and teach 7 different lettering styles with this one tool. So that would be a great lead in. And it could be like an introductory, almost like a prerequisite. If you saw the video on social media, you'd be like, I want to sign up for one of her classes. But if you signed up for the class and you're like, but I've never touched this before, watch this quick video because I go through some of the things that you need in order to do that. Is that maybe something that someone could do? Is that a good example?
Yeah,
Or
that's a great example too, and it touches on something also that we talk about in the membership where, what is the we call it like what's the floor? What's the minimum requirements you want your, ideal student who's gonna, fo follow your work? What's the minimum requirement you want them to have to be successful in whatever you're going to teach them? And your how-to tutorial could be the thing that gets them to meet that minimum requirement. So in your example that you just shared, if they've never, let's say, even used that particular, was it the marker?
yeah,
Or that
yeah, a
if like
brush marker. Yeah,
if they're never even gotten introduced to, let's say, doing a basic technique with that marker, but they sign up for your class and then like, wait, I don't even know anything, and then they don't take action on it, and they're like, oh, this isn't for me. Well, it's not that they couldn't have actually been really successful with your longer class. It's just maybe they didn't meet that requirement first, that minimum requirement.
yeah.
That's another way you can help narrow down, which tutorial idea should I go with? Like, do I need this to be the minimum requirement to get someone to want my other stuff?
Yeah, I love it. I love that because now it's got me thinking. I've been tech hosting for different calligraphy teachers recently. And one teacher spent a very long time in the beginning talking about the tools, how to maintain them, how to prep them. And that's very common in calligraphy that you've got a lot of work around that. That could be like you said, a prerequisite or something that they could watch before they came in if they've never worked with the tool before to be able to help them. But I've also worked with someone who had this beautiful class. We all produced so much work. And then we walked away with like, some of us had dozens of pieces of paper. And it's like, what do we do with it? We've got these beautiful practice sheets, but some of them were really great. And she did a quick teaser video on how she made them into a book. And so something that comes after something that might lead to the next thing might be good. And so she did a teaser video on this book that she made. Now she's going to make a video on how to make the book. And that'll be something that can be a bonus for the people who took the class and could be something that could be a bonus for the next class that people teach. So it's almost like if you took my class or if you take the class, you'll also get this. Do you see it also as maybe even bonus videos?
Yeah, you could even flip it where if it's not the gateway entry, the other side is a bonus, a supplement that enhances, like I said, another class that you have. And I have another phrase that also might help as you were talking. It's like, okay, one of my mentors was sharing, she called it, great videos solve, one problem, and by the end of it, introduce bigger problems that you can then solve with your other offers. So if the first problem was, I don't know how to use this particular marker, by the end, they're like, yeah, I can use this marker, but now what can I make? Well, that's the bigger problem, right? What can I make with this new skill? They're like, oh, by the way, I have these other classes or I have these other trainings.
Yeah. And for those of you who might be scared of, oh, I don't know if I really want to get into marketing, it's okay. You can use these videos in social media because you can show what you did. You can show part of the process of your finished piece. If you're not already a teacher, this could just be a baby step into that world or just a nice thing to say, I did a thing, right? Another thing is if you're not quite sure about the language, if things are starting to go like, I don't know about marketing, because I know a lot of creative people, they don't want to market. They're not
Mhm.
comfortable with it, or they haven't done it before, or they think this is a myth, but they think, well, I want my work to speak for itself. Well, your work doesn't always sell itself. And so that's a common thing that happens. But there's 2 things I wanted to say. First of all, Claire outlines how to write it. So here's an example. Here's what you're going to write. Now write it in your words. And so you give great guidance on how to do that. And then you can find words that feel great to you. So as I was just saying, I can teach you some really basic techniques on how to use this marker and then 7 different lettering styles. A common thing that I came up with, and this is a bit of a tagline for me, is I like to say, what was this tool designed for? And what else can it do? And that evokes and provokes lots of ideas of, oh my gosh, yeah, almost anything is possible. So really, I think having that, I think this now gets into when we think about a how-to tutorial and the outline that you've given us here, it's scalable, right? So this could be a 2-minute video or a story on Instagram, or it could be a full-on 90-minute class, right? Or maybe you don't want 90 minutes, maybe you want
Mhm.
a bunch of 10-minute classes, or you want maybe a 20-minute class, right? That shows a maybe a longer technique.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I was proud of the outline is I think it's quite flexible, as you say, where you can go as deep as you want it to be. I think the sections are sectioned in such a way where it will hopefully force you to think like, how can I make this as digestible as possible? And if I was to expand on a particular step, understand the reasoning why you would do it.
Right.
Because I have seen other tutorials where it's one video, but it's like very long, and maybe halfway into it, you're like, it's still not over, and I'm already so overwhelmed as the
Right.
student, right, trying to watch. So this outline is also designed to, alleviate that sort of feeling for your viewer, your video viewer.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and what's great with the how-to tutorial in my recommendation, if for those who are new to it, is I recommend if you want to just try something a little shorter first. So get the feeling of what it's like to write for, I'll just pick a number, a 30-minute tutorial. Let's just pick
Hmm.
30 minutes.
Hmm.
And then after you do it once, then whatever your second idea is, and if it does become longer, it's going to become faster. It's really just about getting those practice reps in. And so much of what I put in that outline is to really help in that beginning stage where you want that first rep to just be under your belt. That's why I'm trying to give like what words to say, what visuals you can use, and then the grace to like fill it in with your own style.
Yeah, I love it. And what would you say is the ideal time frame for the outline that you built?
When I was putting it together, I was imagining maybe like a 15 to 30-minute tutorial, enough
Yeah.
time where you can, introduce yourself and what you're about to teach. And really the flex with how long it would take is how detailed are you going to be in doing your step-by-step breakdown? Are there three main steps? Are there five? Obviously, you as the expert would know what you would really need to arm the viewer with, well, what kind
Right.
of knowledge that you would need, and then also able to like wrap it up, nicely and not leave them hanging like, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of the space that I was imagining. But for those who do have like maybe longer, bigger tutorials in mind, that outline could still flex as
Yeah.
well.
And I also saw it as, and I love that you said that 30 minutes is kind of a sweet spot in terms of a selling point, right? If you can learn a technique in 30 minutes and then go off and make something or do something with that information, boy, that makes it a probably a low enough price point that you could sell a whole bunch of them if you wanted to monetize this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then also looking at your outline, I thought when I first wrote it out or looked at it, I thought, oh, this is something I can do in 10 to 15 minutes, right? Or I could even pare it down. And I know that you would say, Heather, you don't want to do that. I have another script for that, which I'm thinking social media, like, hey, can I pare this down in like 2 minutes for social media? And you'd probably be like, I have a different script for that. I bet you do, don't you? To get people talking, to get people hooked. Yeah.
Well, well, actually, the script samples that I put in the outline. So I'm all about like repurposing when possible. So if you go through the outline and you write, your intro, that same intro, even if you don't want to use it for a specific tutorial, you could use it for other things because you've
Right.
already thought about like this is how I'm going to introduce myself and talk about this particular technique. And you just use that because you wrote it once and you
Yeah.
can leverage it multiple times.
Yeah. As soon as I read through it,
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, this is going to be like, I could do this over and over and over again. So I'm so excited to be learning from you. Skill to sell, create a profitable video tutorial of your signature technique. So I want people to be thinking about their signature technique that they want to share, that they possibly want to monetize. And what else would you like to add, Clara? What else would you like to say about this opportunity for folks?
I'd like to chime in on, one of the reasons I was particularly excited to, collaborate with you and, show this to your audience is I feel like, I was a painter before. I was actually a painting major in college before I went, full in on the digital design stuff. But yeah, I have like a sweet spot for, that love for like fine art, like, that physical aspect of getting your hands dirty, making something tangible from scratch, right? And I can understand because I used to come from that world, like how hard it is maybe to switch to like how do you take something physical or tangible that you've crafted over years and years and then get it online and show it to other people in your audience that you speak to specifically because it's full of, artists, visual practitioners and the like. That is really why I'm particularly passionate about teaching this class with you. Um, and you had said something before that really struck me. It's like sometimes, if you've been a master at your craft for decades, you mentioned that these maybe more traditional artists who've had all this knowledge in their head for years and years, um, you know, we don't want to lose that, right? And video was one of the greatest ways to, help preserve like a legacy of how a particular technique is done for the next generation of creatives. And yeah, that really struck me when you said that.
I love this because Buckminster Fuller was a futurist back in the early 1900s. So, probably in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, he would have said that people are going to learn from watching other people on screens. And here
Mm,
we are learning from one another. And he was a really great futurist. And I see you as that person helping us get there because you can see the whole picture and you show us here's the steps, here's how to get there. And I've really enjoyed working with you in I think every time we meet I have a new thing I come to you with and say I want to be able to do this, and you show me and I think, oh my gosh, if I would have Googled that, looked for it on YouTube, I would have gone down a rabbit hole for hours, gotten distracted, never gotten back to it. And you give me this just in time learning that I absolutely love. So I'm so excited to be offering this with you and to see, like you, I want to see what people create.
yes, I'm so excited. And for those of you watching, I hope we see you in our workshop.